Hey, what's up YouTube? It's Aston Edmonds with Health and Swellness. Today I've got some footage from my lower rep upper body day. For those of you who watched the last upper body day, you know that I split my days up into different rep schemes. So today is low reps and strength work for my pushing movements. So we started off with some paused bench press, and the way that I'm working my bench progression now is I'm doing paused until I hit a plateau. I'm just slowly increasing the weight every week until I hit a plateau for 2 to 3 weeks. Then I simply switch to touch and go and just pick up weight wise from where I left off. And so most people can do about 20 pounds more on touch and go. So when I do make the switch using the same weight I used for paused, I'm really working with sub-maximal loads. And then I just linearly progress the touch and go until I plateau again, and that's normally about when I decide to deload. Around that time, it should be about 8 to 10 weeks. And then when I restart the training cycle, I restart with paused bench. I just simply subtract 20 pounds from where I left off with touch and go, and that's going to be my weight I use with paused. So for example, the last training cycle I finished with 230 for 5 touch and go. So when I restarted this training cycle, I did 210 pounds for 5 paused. The way I kind of like to think about it is when I'm doing the touch and go, I'm really building up my strength and kind of my explosive power. But then when I switched to pause, that's kind of when I'm mastering the weight. I have complete control over it. If I'm able to pause for a second on my chest and then push it up, I have a lot more control over it than when I did that same weight touch and go previously. Next, I moved on to close grip bench, as you see me grinding out a rep right there, the final rep. But a common mistake that I see on close grip bench press is people putting their hands too close together. As you can see, my hands are about shoulder width apart, maybe slightly inward, but really you don't need to move them as far in as you see a lot of people moving them in. Because what this is going to do is when you move them so close together, it puts a lot of negative stress and it just puts all the load right onto your wrists. So to get the benefits from a close grip bench press, really all you have to do is move your grip in a couple inches from your normal bench press grip width, and that's going to give you the benefits of putting more tension onto your triceps. Typically though, what I recommend is about shoulder width apart, maybe slightly inward from shoulder width. But the people that you see doing, where they put their hands an inch away from each other is just ridiculous, and you're only going to injure yourself. Because there's no, you can strengthen your muscles, but you can't strengthen your bones. Your wrists, bones, and your joints can only support so much weight. And so you want to put the tension on your muscles, not on your joints. Because the role of muscles are to, protect our bones, from snapping. Like if we just loaded up a skeleton with a 300-pound, bar on its back, then it would crumble. But the muscles, prevent the bones and the joints from just collapsing. Anyway, next we moved on to probably my weakest movement, which is overhead press. I haven't been doing it for a long time. I used to do push press and I got up pretty high in weight on that. I was doing 185 for sets of 8. And for those of you who don't know, push press is basically overhead press except you use a lot more leg drive. The idea with strict overhead press is that you keep your legs locked, although you do see my knees dip a little bit in the clips, which is something I need to work on. But push press, you push with your legs to help get the weight moving. And so it really did not translate to my overhead press. As you can see, I'm having a lot of trouble keeping my full body tight. You want to keep everything stiff. You want to push from a solid base. And as you can see, especially with this lighter set, I just am very loose and rickety. I put on the belt to hope, that would help me, actively brace, but it's just, I don't know, it's just not working out for me. It's just one of those things that's just going to take some practice because the movement does feel very awkward to me. So what I think I'm going to do going forward is add in some practice sets when it comes to overhead press. So after I do my working sets, I'll lower the weight quite a bit and then just really focus on nailing down the form and practicing the movement. So hopefully that will help me, slowly increase the weight over time. As you can see on the screen now, I'm doing some hypertrophy work for pulling movements. And in this video, I only showed the compound movements after I finished with compounds. I did a lot of isolation work with bicep curls and overhead tricep extensions. Basically the same isolation movements I used in my upper body, high rep day, but just with the lower rep scheme. So when it comes to all back exercises, some cues that I like to use are: 1, pulling with your elbows instead of your hands. And what this is going to do when you focus on bringing your elbow, down towards your waist instead of, pulling your wrist or your hand towards your body, it's going to use a lot more lats and a lot less bicep and arms. The second cue that I like to use is pulling your chest through on all back exercises. It's really helpful with these cable rows, so instead of thinking about pulling the cable back, almost think about your hands locked into place and really just pulling your chest through on the movement. Because keeping your chest up and your scapula engaged in all back exercises is very important for lat recruitment. But anyways, the video is winding to an end, so if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up rating. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead, you'll be notified when I upload future videos. But thanks for watching and have a great day.